Pausa rapidinho agora para falar de dica de ouro para os papais e mamães. Depois de experimentar a nova Hug Supreme Care Fralda Roupinha, tudo ficou ainda melhor para o meu filho. É a única com canais em X que se adaptam aos movimentos, com 2 vezes proteção noturna e cintura elástica que se adapta ao corpinho do bebê, além de ser super fácil de colocar e tirar. Praticidade pura. Então guarda essa dica. Nova Hug Supreme Care Fralda Roupinha. Bebê, estamos juntos nessa, mais do que nunca. Agora curta seu podcast.
Part of that work really is fully accepting every single part of you on the whole spectrum that is Sydney. That you are peace, you are trust, you are stability, you are loneliness, you are anger, you are rage, and all of those things are absolutely breathtakingly beautiful. You're listening to Make Some Noise podcast, episode number 605. Welcome to Make Some Noise podcast, your guide for strategies, tools, and insight to empower yourself. I'm your host, Andrea Owen, global speaker, entrepreneur, life coach since 2007, and author of 3 books that have been translated into 18 languages and are available in 22 countries. Each week, I'll bring you a guest or a lesson that will help you maximize unshakable confidence, master resilience, and make some noise in your life. You ready? Let's go. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the podcast. I'm so glad that you're here. I am eyeball deep in moving. Who doesn't love that? Although this is a pretty significant move, I am moving into my own place and it's just chaotic on so many levels. If any of you have gotten divorced with children and moved out, been the one to move out, then you know. It's incredibly bittersweet and also a logistical nightmare. So it's a lot going on over here. I'm actually probably going to dedicate my mini-sode to it. I'm just so, again, eyeball deep in it. I don't know what else to talk about. So that might be the case on Friday coming up. But regardless, we have an amazing episode for you today. We have another coaching episode. This one's a little bit different than the one from a couple of months ago, which I appreciate the DMs that I got about that particular episode. And that one was more like educational, giving advice, which isn't true coaching. But this one leans more towards coaching. And you'll notice we kind of do a little dance. We kind of bounce all over the place. And that's a lot of times what coaching looks like. You come to the session with something that you're struggling with, that you feel stuck on. And my job is to just remain incredibly curious and open. I have no agenda. I have no attachment to the outcome for you. I just remain curious. I ask a lot of questions and I follow my intuition. I listen for things and look for things too, because I'm watching this person on Zoom that they might not be saying in terms of body language, in terms of the tone of their voice, their facial expressions, etc. So that's more what this one is. And I will give you an update, a very short update at the very end of the episode. Real quick though, speaking of coaching, I do have openings this summer for coaching. So if you go to andreaowen.com/links, that's where you'll find really everything that I point you guys to in these episodes. There's a page on there that gives you a brief overview of who my ideal client is to see if it's a fit for you. There's also a button to fill out an application, and that application goes directly to me. We will hop on the phone. You can ask questions. I give you sort of a framework of how I think I can help you and how our sessions will go. And then we go from there. So andreaowen.com/links. All right. That being said, without further ado, here is the coaching session with Sydney. Sydney, welcome to Coaching on the Show. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I am, as always, excited to have these conversations. I never know where these are going to go. And I just like to offer these to the listeners so they can see like what is coaching, like what happens during these conversations. Why is it so amazing? So thank you for the vulnerability to come on and share your life with us. Before we jump in, like, can you introduce yourself? Tell people where you're based, where you're from, and what do you do?
Yeah, totally. Originally from California, and now I'm doing travel trailer life full time. So my partner and I and my cat are just kind of going all around the US, just exploring. And I'm a coach, I'm a life coach, and I'm in school for counseling as well. And I'm also writing too. I really like writing. That was one of the things that I liked about you too, is that we share that interest. And yeah, just really wanted to try this and see if I could get some clarity on some stuff.
I thank you for that. And it's funny, like I didn't know before. So when you filled out your application to come and be coached on the show, I didn't know that you were a coach and that you were in grad school for counseling. And it's funny because I think people who are either coaches or who have had coaching before usually jump at the chance quicker because they're like, oh, I know what this is, So, so it's nice. How many states have you visited so far? Are you guys keeping track?
So far, too. We just
Okay.
started January 1st.
Oh, okay. I thought you'd been doing it for longer. So this is a new adventure.
Yeah,
And
we were doing other countries full time for a while. I think like
oh,
6 or 7 months, and then we were like, let's do the US instead.
that's exciting. Yeah, I follow somebody on Instagram who it's a couple, it's an older couple. They look like they're retired and they have done all of the national parks, which is super interesting.
I think I've seen them. They're so cute.
They are super cute, like in their 60s-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like such a fun thing to do. And I don't know if that's what you're bringing today to as your topic. I don't think it is, but can you tell us what is the topic that you want coaching on specifically? Like where are you feeling kind of stuck?
Yeah, I think I want to get some clarity on like what I want in the bigger picture, like something I'm excited about and working towards. Because I think I find that sometimes I think I want something and then I get it. And then I'm like, oh, I want something else.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Okay.
happened with a few different life areas. But just yeah, something like an exciting vision or future that gets me motivated. Like I love my life right now. Of course, I'm having so much fun, but I kind of want something to look forward to and to be working towards and building, I guess. I don't know if
Mm-hmm.
it's because I've just got into my 30s, but I'm really wanting to like build something.
Huh. Okay.
And
Interesting.
yeah, does that make sense?
I think so. And because I have lots of questions, as we coaches do. But before I jump in and start asking you questions, where can you be specific? And you mostly were, but like, can you be specific on like what would be the best thing to walk away with at the end of our conversation?
Clarity on like what I ultimately am working towards in career and maybe something around a home, like what that like home community, like those two areas specifically. I think I want just like something more clear because right now I'm kind of just been like, oh, this feels good, I'll do that.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's working. It's just, it would be nice to have like a really exciting future to be like building towards.
Okay. And so I would love to start there. What is important about you feeling like you had clarity on what you are ultimately working towards? Like, especially like versus where you are now with that.
I think it would just make me feel more purposeful, more motivated, more productive, and kind of relieved to just know, like, okay, this is where I'm going, not just kind of like winging it and just seeing what happens.
That was my next question. Like what's going on right now? So you're just kind of winging it and seeing what happens. And in your opinion, that's not working for you?
I suppose it also is like life is really good right now. But I think in terms of like a home community, I don't know where that would be or what that looks like. I wish I did. So I at least know like that that's going to be a thing soon because that's something I really crave, although I do love traveling. And I think
Uh-huh.
with career, it's like I'm hoping I will love doing therapy and writing books and doing coaching. Like all three of those like really speak to me, but I guess I don't know if I will. Like I just have
Mhm.
to see when I get there, but sometimes I do think that I want something and then I'm like, oh.
Yeah. Okay. So has this been something that has been sort of swirling around, or do you think that this is something that has kind of come up as you started traveling more, or is it something else? Like, is this an old kind of craving that you're having, or is it a new craving?
It's been there for a while. Like this desire to know what I want and have clarity on that and have something to work towards, and then not having that. That's been a thing probably since I was like a teen. Like even back then, I was like, I have no idea what I want to do when I grow up. I was just like, I don't know where I want to live. I don't know what I want to do for work. I don't know, like, yeah, there was a lot of like lack of clarity on what I want has been a very common thing. Gotten a lot better, but sometimes it's still there. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I can figure that out.
Does it feel sort of that you have been sort of looking for like you're looking at a map and you're trying to figure out like where the X is?
Yeah, like where am I going?
Where are
Like
you going?
what's my purpose here? Like what am I looking towards? That would be nice to just have that so I know like, okay, that's something that I'm building or manifesting. Or
is there a part of you, and if so, like I'm curious, like what part of you, but I guess the question first is like, is there a part of you that feels like it needs to be a thing, like a tangible thing that you're working towards? Yeah. Like intuitively, do you think that's actually true? Like, could it be a feeling or an experience instead of like a career with like capital letters, or like things like that? Do you see what I'm getting at?
Yeah. Can you say that one more time? It cut out.
Yeah. So I'm wondering, I'm really curious if there's a part of you or parts of you that feel like you need to sort of do what we're taught. Like, okay, you need to like figure out exactly what your career is, and you need to have like letters after your name, and you need to have these certifications, and what it might really be is what you're looking for is actually a feeling or experience instead.
The feeling and experience would be like when I think of a home and career and clarity, I think of like peace, stability, safety, security, like alignment, like trust that like, okay, yeah, this is the path I'm on and this feels right to me and this is what aligns with my highest values. So it would be feelings, definitely. I think the home and community aspect, just feeling more like connected to others. Definitely a desire to like build something. I'm not super close with my family, so I place high value on like friends and community, and I crave that so much right now. So those would be like the feelings and experiences I imagine would come with like having or not. I mean, they're not dependent on having those things, but those are the ways that I would feel, I imagine, with those, with like the clarity on that path and the career and the home and just like knowing what I'm ultimately like why I'm doing all this stuff for.
Yeah. Okay. So you've mentioned like 2 or 3 times now that you want to build something. Is there a part of you that might be at least kind of clear on what that might be?
Yeah, I think like a home.
Okay.
Really crave that. I don't feel like I've ever really had that. We moved around a lot growing up, and then I've moved around a lot as an adult. But that just sounds so nice. I love this mini moving home though, a lot. But yeah, sometimes I miss just like knowing the city and having friends and that type of thing.
Is there something, because the word that keeps coming up as I am getting curious and asking you these questions is the word anchor. So I guess the question, what's that?
That's funny. It resonates so much. I have almost always felt like there is no anchor for me moving around my whole life and not being close with my family and not being like from anywhere, and even like not having like really one identity. Like I'm not a beach girl, I'm not a country girl, I'm not like super outdoorsy girl. Like, yeah, like my whole life it's just kind of been all over the place, everything. I don't know. Totally no anchor at all.
Yeah.
With anything. It's kind of unsettling, but it has been adventurous. You know, there's good
Sounds
to
like it.
But totally resonates. Yeah.
How much work have you done in sort of like how do I describe this? Like coming to terms with that and giving grace to the maybe little girl or, teenage Sydney that has never really felt an anger and has felt kind of untethered. Like, I just wonder if there's any inner work that maybe has been, I don't want to say neglected because then I don't want to put any blame on you, but just sort of overlooked, I guess, in your journey to getting to the age that you have now. Because that's a lot for one person to carry, to not feel like you have had that home base and feeling like your life is kind of always on the go. And it's sounds like there's good that has come from having a life that is full of adventures, but also some sadness and maybe some grief or other more challenging feelings.
Totally. Yeah. I've done a lot of therapy around a lot of that, but I still have that craving for that anchor. I don't know if it's even possible to have that, because even like in my 30s now, like so many people my age have people they've known for a long time, or they have family, or they have like one parent or something. Like I don't have any of that. No childhood friends, not even anyone from high school. I went to like 5 high school. So I guess I've been hoping that like maybe in like the other half of my life, I know I'm not halfway through yet, that I could like create that, maybe like make up for the lack of that. But yeah, that desire is definitely there. Maybe there's more work around that to do.
Maybe.
There is like that loneliness there.
That's what I'm hearing. That's what I'm gathering.
Yeah, definitely.
Which is like, I don't want to step over that. I think that, as humans, we need each other. And I just really want to make sure that that I see very much that desire that you have to create community with other people. Maybe it's to even run deeper in your partnership that you have, or even reconnect with someone that you've already had a friendship with. Like that's all very important. And at the same time, I wonder if there could be work to be done. And maybe this becomes the question of, what is your relationship with yourself, more specifically around feeling like you are your own home base? You are your own anchor.
I love that. I'm writing that down.
Yeah. What do you love about it? I really had no idea what kind of reaction I was going to get. So I'm curious, like, what do you love about it?
It's hilarious. It just resonates a lot. I feel like, I wonder if intuitively I've been trying to do that, because I try to practice a lot of self-love and yoga and meditation and journaling and reading books and just creating like peace wherever I can. Feel like my whole, like probably up until my mid-20s was just a shit show. Chaos, no like home or stability or family or love. And now like I'm feeling like I want like all of that. I wonder if I've been trying to create that in myself. I wonder if that's going to be enough though. Maybe.
And I'm not saying like, you need to just be at peace with you being your own home base and that's it. And then it's going to solve all your problems. Like, that's really why I prefaced it with, we need other people. Like, and I do think that ultimately it sounds like that's just a huge desire of yours to create community. And I have no doubt that you will, as the years and the decades go by, that you'll create that, especially because it's such a real desire of yours. And I think it's both. It's this desire and you taking action on creating the community that you're craving. And also, what would it look like for you to, at the same time, create that sort of anchor and home base within yourself? So you mentioned that you do, yoga and meditation. What would that mean for you? Because that would look different to everyone. What would it mean for you to look to yourself as your own home base, your own anchor?
Besides all those other things. maybe just spending more time alone with myself. Like I'm pretty good with that, as you might imagine, because it's been quite a lonely life, but maybe doing that more and more and more until I'm not sad anymore. Because usually when I'm alone, I get sad, pretty sad. But my partner did just leave for a month to go be with his family in Idaho because something's going down over there.
Yeah.
It's a good time to practice that. But it's not that I can't be alone because I've been alone, but I've definitely cried like 5 times in the past 3 days.
Yeah.
Maybe that's part of creating the anchor, is just like feeling that and being with it until hopefully it like runs out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure it has to run out. That can't
Every
be.
storm ends up ending. Yes.
Has to come out at some point. So maybe just being alone a lot more and just being with the loneliness and seeing if it stops and being more okay with that. That might like dampen this like really strong urge to create all this community and friends and togetherness and love. I want that, but I don't want to be too dependent on that to be happy either.
Shopify's already taken the cash register online, helping millions sell billions around the world. But did you know that Shopify can do the same thing at your retail store? Give your point of sale system a serious upgrade with Shopify. With Shopify, you get a powerhouse selling partner that effortlessly unites your in-person and online sales into one source of truth. Track every sale across your business in one place and know exactly what's in stock. Connect with customers inline and online. Shopify helps you drive store traffic with plug-and-play tools built for marketing campaigns from TikTok to Instagram and beyond. Get hardware that fits your business. Take payments by smartphone, transform your tablet into a point of sale system, or use Shopify's POS Go mobile device for a battle-tested solution. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/noise, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/noise to take your retail business to the next level today. Shopify.com/noise. Today's podcast is sponsored by MIDI Health. Ladies, are you over 40 like me and dealing with hot flashes, insomnia, brain fog, moodiness, some vaginal dryness, or weight gain? Don't just accept it as part of aging. These symptoms are often linked to hormonal changes during perimenopause and menopause. At MIDI Health, they get it. Their experts know what you're going through and how to help. MIDI clinicians are menopause specialists offering safe, effective, FDA-approved solutions. And guess what? MIDI care is covered by insurance. So stop pushing through it alone. Schedule a virtual visit and dive deep into your unique symptoms and health background. You'll walk away feeling heard and with a plan to start feeling better. Visit MIDI Health today and reclaim your well-being. You deserve to feel great. Book your virtual visit today at joinmidi.com. That's joinmidi.com. joinmidi.com. You know when you're listening to a song on the radio and you get the profound feeling that the song playing was written about you? Now imagine having the power to gift that same incredible feeling to someone you love with an original song from Songfinch that actually is written just for them. Songfinch lets you create an original radio quality song inspired by your own life and the people you love. It's completely unique, personal, and lasts forever. Whether your song is for Father's Day, an upcoming graduation, wedding, or anniversary, or even just a gift to show your loved one how much you care, start your song now to lock in one of Songfinch's top artists. I gifted Songfinch to myself, a song about my late father, and I'm so excited to play you a clip.
Flipping through the slides of learning how to live and how to love, and coming undone, I father daughters without, so she writes it down.
One of my clients heard about Songfinch from this podcast, and so she had a song created for her son who was graduating, and she told me that they both cried when she played it for him and that it exceeded her expectations. For a limited time, Songfinch is letting our listeners upload their song to Spotify for free, so you and the lucky person you gift it to can listen to it anywhere, anytime. Go to songfinch.com/noise and start your song. After you purchase, you'll be prompted to add Spotify streaming for your original song for free, a $50 value. Again, my URL is songfinch.com/noise. Don't forget to share your song with us too. songfinch.com/noise.
The thing that jumped out at me around what you just said is that you were talking about crying and the sadness, like maybe that'll make it go away. Can you tell me what your relationship is like to specifically around sadness and crying? Is it something that you try to avoid or kind of plow through it? Do you make yourself wrong for staying there? Like, tell me those kinds of thoughts that you have around it.
I've been working on just like being with it more, like just letting myself cry. Going for a drive, crying, singing. I've been trying to work on that, like just to be with it. Because usually it's like such a big wave that comes. I feel like it's probably maybe from past stuff that it feels so intense. Like I feel like, well, stop crying. I try to just like let it happen. There's been a lot of grief and loss. So yeah, sometimes it's just like, it's so intense. I'm like white knuckling the steering wheel. Like, oh my God, am I going to have a panic attack? I'm practicing just like letting it come out. And it's been very helpful. Whereas before I would try to hold it in because I was like, I don't think I can handle like this depth of sadness.
Yeah.
It's like too fucking much. I've been trying to just be with it. And maybe it will like lessen in severity over time. I'm hoping.
So you do end up like, stopping crying. You do end up making your way through it, even if you have thoughts of like, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to handle this intensity of these feelings.
I've been trying to let it just happen.
And by trying, like, where is the resistance in that? Do you beat yourself up for it? Do you find that you're trying to avoid those moments?
That's a great catch there. I think the resistance is like the thought that comes in is like, oh, I should be able to be happy alone. Because that's important in general. And what if my partner and I break up or something? Then I will have to be alone. I think that happens. Like I should be happy alone. And then sometimes I get sad about being sad.
Yeah.
Like I'll be like, oh man, this is really sad that I'm this sad being alone.
Is the worst. Yeah.
Or my mind will go to like the past or family stuff or something. And then I'll be like, am I not over this then? Like those are the that come up when you ask that about the resistance.
I'm going to take my coach hat off for a second and offer you, as your elder, offer you some words of wisdom. And also not just as an elder, but as someone who has been very resistant to feelings, like I think much more than you are. And just, for anyone listening, like making up all kinds of negative things around just having feelings in the first place. And especially like, quote unquote, staying in sadness or grief or loneliness. And I think just, culturally too, as women, we are taught that too many emotions are a bad thing, and that the way that we are perceived by others is incredibly important in terms of like, how are we making other people feel? So, we are pushed towards being happy and cheerful and, able to just like, oh, I was sad, but now I'm not, like I'm fine. It's like one of our favorite words. That is a recipe for absolute fucking disaster. That will catch up with us. And many times it can look like anxiety, insomnia, sometimes depression. And not to say that those things, have their clinical place. And
But I think that when we push down or make ourselves wrong for having any feelings at all or not having the right feelings, we are just dampening our spirit. We are walking away from our true nature just as humans and like walking away from just the experience of our own humanity and making ourselves wrong. And so, what if you could just, I wrote about this, I think it was in How to Stop Feeling Like Shit, and how my friend Amy Smith years and years ago when I first got sober talked to me about, and a lot of coaching is around changing perspectives. And so what if you could look at your feelings as the perspective of it's just your body's way of taking care of itself and trying to get back to homeostasis. And we have absolutely no control over that. Like we have no control really when a fever breaks, or if we're working out really hard, when we will stop sweating, or if we have the flu, when we are going to stop vomiting. Like it's really up to our body to determine when they're done, when, like it has expelled whatever it needs to expel. And what if we could look at feelings the same way as actually like your feelings are in control, and wherever you're going with these feelings, that's not up for you to decide. And the last thing I want to say about that is like, not only is it it's not for you to decide, but it's really in your best interest to just surrender to it. And I lied. I'm going to say one more thing about it. It means zero things, like your feelings and how long you feel them or how intensely you feel them. It equals nothing about who you are as a person, about your value, about who you are as a woman, about where you're going in your life. It doesn't mean any of that. It's literally just your body's way of taking care of itself. Would that change anything?
Yeah, I'd probably have a healthier relationship with my emotions because I'm always trying to be this like calm, regulated person. Maybe too much? I don't know. Maybe there's a balance with that because I do feel like I'm really overly sensitive and cry so easily.
Mhm.
But I mean, that's because I've been through so much freaking shit and trauma. So
What if there was no such thing as overly sensitive? What if it's just human?
that sounds great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd probably not try to get my emotions to move through so much. I would just let them be.
Mhm.
And I'd probably not apologize for crying. That's a whole nother can of worms, though. When I would cry growing up, it was not received well. It's humiliating to cry in front of people. That's going to be a long process
Yeah.
doing that. But I think I just wouldn't be so insecure when I get emotional because the insecurity on top of being emotional just makes it worse.
Yeah.
Like whether I'm alone, I get insecure, or in front of my partner, I get insecure about being like overly emotional and dysregulated and all that crap.
Do you think you're and for the sake of sounding dramatic, like do you think your life would change a little bit or a bit if you looked at your Sydney's emotions, that they held the same weight as if you say like you had allergies or something, and like in the spring and in the fall you got the sneezes a little bit more, like nobody would really bat an eye to that, right? It would just be like, oh, Sydney's allergies are acting up. What if your emotions were looked at in the same way?
I think I would just think of them as not that big of a deal. You're like, oh, I'm sad.
Yeah.
Okay. Doesn't mean I can't be happy alone. I've been alone and I was fine. Maybe it doesn't have to mean that I'm not like over stuff from the past. It does mean that it doesn't really matter. It's just my body feeling it and it'll move through and be okay.
Mm-hmm.
My only concern is like that I will always be emotional and it will always be too much. But I don't think that's true because it has gotten way better. The past 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, way better.
I want to pause here and just kind of put a pin in it, because I definitely want to ask you about that, but I want to just check in with you because I know we sort of like and this happens a lot in coaching. I know you know this. We kind of went in one direction and I just sort of like followed some breadcrumbs, but I want to make sure that this is helpful for you to what you want from our time together. And because we can switch directions if you want.
No, this has been very helpful. I'm
Okay.
taking a lot of notes and it's making me become more aware of these things.
Yeah. I just got super curious about it and kind of wanted to dig in, but like, of course, as a coach, it's not up to me. It's not my agenda. Thank you for answering that question.
Pausa rapidinho agora para falar de dica de ouro para os papais e mamães. Depois de experimentar a nova Hug Supreme Care Fralda Roupinha, tudo ficou ainda melhor para o meu filho. É a única com canais em X que se adaptam aos movimentos, com 2 vezes proteção noturna e cintura elástica que se adapta ao corpinho do bebê, além de ser super fácil de colocar e tirar. Praticidade pura. Então guarda essa dica. Nova Hug Supreme Care Fralda Roupinha. Bebê, estamos juntos nessa, mais do que nunca. Agora curta seu podcast.
I'd like to introduce you to the Minimalist Moms podcast. It's hard enough being a mom, and the last thing you need is stress from too much stuff and an overcrowded schedule. For too long, I lived with the mindset that bigger was better, and the more I added to my life, instead of feeling better, I felt overwhelmed. It was time for a radical new mindset. Less is more. I'm not into extremes. I didn't throw everything away. My brand of minimalism is more about adding than subtracting. Get rid of the excess to make room for what you love. In other words, it's about living life with purpose. I hope you'll listen in and my guest and myself can inspire you to think more and do with less. The Minimalist Moms podcast, available wherever you listen to podcasts.
No one told us the truth about parenthood. Why? This is the podcast everyone needed before they had kids because now that those little ones are here, there is a lot to unpack. I'm Rachel Shepardota, and I am your host for the podcast No One Told Us, where we tell the truth about parenting and let you in on all the stuff you really should have known about before having kids. I am the founder of Hey Sleepy Baby, but this podcast is so much more than sleep. We'll be diving into all the topics that you really care about and need to know while you do your best job raising those adorable tiny humans. Our goal is to just make you feel less alone and less overwhelmed. There are so many things that no one tells us before becoming a parent, and I think that we should really pull back the curtain on becoming a first-time or second-time mom or dad to share the good, the bad, and the ugly. We'll have a little education, a little fun, and a whole lot of heart that goes into each and every episode. So join me and our amazing guests each week to hear us talk about what no one told us.
All right. So I'm curious about what you just said around, and I know the listener can't see this, but your face, when you said it's gotten so much better, like your eyes got big. And like, I imagined that you were thinking about how you used to be with your emotions. And now you're relieved that it's so much better. And like, that's what I want to know about. Like, can you say more about that?
Yeah, I think my eyes got big because it's almost unbelievable, like the amount that I've grown. It kind of trips me out. It almost doesn't feel real. It feels like I had like a bad nightmare and that was my past. And I'm awake now and I'm looking back like, holy shit.
What do you attribute that to?
I think just my desire to grow and heal, probably. And my resourcefulness, I would say, too. Like, I'm pretty stubborn about figuring things out. I don't just like accept it and be like, okay, nothing we can do.
I want to ask you a question that might feel like it's kind of coming out of left field, but it's tapped me on the shoulder twice now. What is your relationship to anger?
Pretty shameful. My anger is really intense. No one would guess that.
Well, I did.
I'm like, you should see my road rage. I want to freaking kill someone. That's cool. You could tell. That's so funny.
Yeah. Anytime a woman comes and talks to me who has a demeanor that is like yours, that is calm and sweet and kind, I'm guessing all of these things. Like, you and I don't know each other very well. I think especially for Gen X and millennial women who grew up getting a very clear message that no one likes angry women. and that our anger is to be feared, and also not only feared, but nobody wants to see it or be around it or witness it in you. Therefore, we feel ashamed of it. I always have a hunch and also a little bit of a worry that you have learned to push it down so far that it is now, at the age that you're at now, manifesting in ways that is not serving you.
Yeah, definitely have suppressed it in the past a lot with my mom, exes, friends, other family members, definitely, and gone into like submissive people pleasing mode.
Mm-hmm.
But then when I realize it after the fact, I'm furious. I would never kill anyone, but that's the feeling.
Mm-hmm. What are you afraid might happen if you let it out? I mean, like, but aside from killing someone, which is fair. What are you afraid might happen?
I guess the two things that come up would be like, I will rip someone's head off that I care about, or I will feel that I overreacted after the fact. And both of those definitely have happened. Like my current partner is literally the best partner I've ever had. Granted, I'm pretty damn good to him too, but there has been times when my rage came out because it was like, oh, we need to set a boundary. And in order to do that, we need to be fucking bitch. And there have been times where he definitely did not deserve that. So now it mostly comes out in the car.
When you're alone?
Yeah. I'm starting to let it out more, like with strangers especially. I just don't feel comfortable like being rude or like firm with people I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Or people that I feel like have more like power over me, like an exes. Some of my exes had a lot of anger issues, and I would like submit because I was like, I don't want to be hurt right now.
Right.
Too. But I've been getting better about that, like saying something or showing my feeling when I'm mad. But yeah, I have overreacted in the past. So I'm like, oh, am I overreacting, or am I setting a boundary like I'm supposed to in a healthy way?
I'm gonna, because you're familiar with, doing inner work, I'm gonna put it on you before I make any suggestions. Is there something that you can think of, whether it is journaling or some kind of physical or somatic work or anything, that you think would be helpful in order for you to sort of work through this anger and just sort of like dig in more to it? Like maybe no conclusions need to be made, or just the invitation is for you to look deeper into that particular emotion and experience.
I think the times that I've been angry, I wanted to like break stuff.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of stuff. Wonder how I could do that.
Have you ever heard of a rage room?
Mm-hmm. I've always wanted to do one of those.
I guarantee you they have one where you are right now.
That would probably be quite fun.
They have them here in Greensboro, and Greensboro is not a big city. There's a couple of them that I know of. And so if you're in or near a big city, you can just Google either rage room or, break stuff near me. Will you look into that? And I can make some suggestions around just the whole experience of it.
Yeah, definitely can.
If and when you walk into this, and maybe it's not a rage room, maybe it's like, I've had clients before I had one client who she had a very difficult relationship with her father. To get her kind of, for lack of a better term, in the mood, she looked at pictures from this one particular event. I can't remember if it was her wedding or someone else's wedding, where they had gotten into this fight, and just to kind of conjure up the memories of it. And she got a baseball bat and a pillow just in her house and just went to town on it. And then she ended up taking a picture of a pile of tissues. She said she went through an entire Kleenex box of tissues, crying afterwards, and then took a 3-hour nap. And so, you can also do something like that, where you don't have to actually pay to go to a room. But these rage rooms are kind of cool because they give you like a crowbar or a bat, and you can like pay extra and like destroy a TV or, like a fax machine or whatever, all these different things. But it's a lot of glass that they have there. And so my invitation is for you to really get into the experience. So like I have a playlist that I have on Spotify that is sort of like my angry woman rage playlist. And I also think that for many of us, it can be incredibly helpful, not just to break things, but to scream and rage. And I'm assuming this is kind of like what you do in your car.
Sometimes in the forest as well.
Yeah. Okay. I love that. And maybe you take something to the forest. I mean, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's a pillow and a bat or whatever. I found it helpful to find a safe place so I can't just like go somewhere. Like if someone gave me this assignment, I can't just like turn on a dime and like scream into the ether. Like there has to be some kind of like inciting event. And sometimes it's just music. Sometimes it's just like, looking at pictures or reading an email that I got from somebody that just set me off. Screaming all of the things that I wish that I could say to that particular person or about that particular event. Like that I would never encourage you to say to someone, that I would never encourage you to say to anyone for fear of ruining relationships and perhaps your reputation. But I really think that there's something to be said when we release those words and noises through our throat chakra and out of our body. Like it needs to come out.
Yeah, I wonder who I would be without the loneliness, the anger, the people pleasing. Maybe I'm not a calm, sweet person. I don't even know. I'm just getting curious about that now. I don't really know who I fully am without all this stuff. Just like my regular, authentic self that was naturally as a child. Because I had been pretty sensitive and empathic and calm and quiet, like since I was like 5. But I don't know if that's truly who I am, or if that was adapted for safety.
It could have been. And I think that there's definitely, and this might be something that you work and talk through with a therapist and maybe some somatic work. And I encourage you to look into family systems therapy. And are you familiar with it?
I haven't done much of it in therapy, but I'm reading the No Bad Parts book.
Yeah, exactly. I think that all of those things live inside of you. And who knows if you were, learned to adapt and mask as a child, like that's not for us to unpack here. But when you were saying that, like, maybe I'm not, X, Y, and Z. And it's like, what if you're all of those things? Like, that's just like, you gave me just a snapshot of just what it means to be human. Like your personality, the DNA in your personality could be that you are kind and, a little bit more laid back, but also that doesn't mean that you are void of anger and rage and the whole rainbow spectrum of emotions. And I wonder if, kind of like bring this back full circle to what we started talking about in the beginning is I think that it's very clear that you know what it is that you are looking for. You want this peace and stability and safety and trust. And to me, like to kind of like, if I could psychoanalyze for a second, it sounds like, you didn't have that growing up. And so that's what you're seeking, which is very normal and like, oh, how very human of you. And in order to, and I have no doubt that you can find those things, like you can. But in order to really be able to receive them, that's what I think part of the missing piece is like many times we can be looking for this thing and it can be right in front of our fucking face, but like, are we actually able to receive it? Because it might be a matter of like, we don't feel worthy to receive it. Like we have other emotions that need to be heard and expressed before we can receive all of those things that you want. And I also have no doubt that you can build community, whether it's online or when you and your partner decide to call a place your home base. I don't think that's going to be hard for you. I think that what's actually happening is this, you might be sort of like either, I don't know if self-sabotage is the right term, but sort of blocking the sort of like the lock and key, like you're sort of blocking the acceptance and the receiving of that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, like I might be blocking receiving those feelings and experiences because I have emotions that need to come out.
I think for women, and I see this a lot with actually women more my age. So I think if you're having this experience and this lesson at your age, like I applaud that. I think for us to really come home to ourselves, and I don't think this is like a destination, like once you turn, 35, you're going to get there. I think it's a kind of a lifelong journey that we go on, but I think that we definitely have these pivotal moments where we grab onto more of it, like this kind of coming home to ourselves. Part of that work really is fully accepting every single part of you on the whole spectrum that is Sydney, that you are peace, you are trust, you are stability, you are loneliness, you are anger, you are rage, and all of those things are absolutely breathtakingly beautiful.
It's definitely a different way to look at it. I have a lot to think about.
We're about at time. And I know we definitely went through a walk in the forest. I know you took a lot of notes over there. And so can you, and whatever would be most helpful, like, do you want to recap your takeaways and then talk about what you're going to do in terms of like an assignment?
Yeah, that sounds great. I think, I took over a page of notes. I definitely want to listen to this too. I think my biggest takeaways were that those things that I'm wanting are feelings and experiences, like those things that I'm craving through that clarity. Like not feeling anchored, like maybe creating that with myself and like being alone more and just like letting whatever comes up just be and not be like, oh, I should be happy alone or whatever. Or thinking like, oh, I thought I was over this thing that my brain's now thinking about that happened 3 years ago. What the hell? Just kind of accepting that. And then, treating my emotions like allergies, like just a regular thing. Like, okay, I'm sad. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Anger, that's really interesting. Yeah. Like consciously carving out time to let that out. Sounds really nice. There would be a lot of that.
Yeah.
Accepting like all of these parts of me and all of the feelings as maybe like the whole of who I am and just seeing what happens from that. And then maybe that will help me feel more of the peace, the security, the safety, stability, community, love. Maybe I don't have to own land first to have all that. Because why commit to letting it not happen now? I have so much to reflect on.
I want to thank you for that and giving us sort of your takeaways, like the high level. I just want to point out one thing that you said that I didn't ask you about, but it definitely jumped out at me. And when you listen to the replay, you'll hear it. And that is when I asked you, one of the things that as coaches we're trained to do is, and I think this is so helpful using video, or if we get the privilege to coach someone in person, is looking for body language or any kind of facial expression that happens. And when I asked you, what is your relationship? I think the question I asked is, what is your relationship with anger? You immediately said that it was shameful.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a big emotion. Shame is something I talk about a lot. It's a full contact emotion. It is something that we are, kind of taught not to talk about or to admit that we have it. And so for that to come out of your mouth so quickly tells me that that is an inner knowing that you have that just sort of like blurted out. And also my guess is that it's something that that you wanted to have it come out of your mouth, that you wanted to admit. Is that fair?
Yeah, that my relationship to anger is shameful. Yeah, could definitely explore that. It's kind of funny too, because sometimes I'm surprised at what comes out of my mouth when someone cuts me off on the road.
Right?
So we'll laugh afterwards. But there have been times where, I'll scream and cuss someone out on the road, and my boyfriend will just be like, "Whoa, babe, are you okay?" Like, it's not about the car.
Yeah, no, it's not. I don't know if you caught the mini-sode that I did a couple of months ago I think that the title of it was Offloading Emotions, if anybody wants to scroll back and look for it. And I'll put it in the show notes for anyone who's listening now. But I did a mini-sode where I talked about all of the ways that we offload emotions. It comes from the Rising Strong curriculum and the Brene Brown training that I'm certified and that I facilitate. And one of the ways that we offload, and by offloading, it means the ways that we avoid feeling our feelings. Everybody does one way or another. None of us are immune to this. And one of the ways that we offload emotions is called chandeliering. And what that means is that it's sort of a metaphor, if you will, where if an emotion gets touched, we go through the roof and hit the chandelier, like just jump and hit the chandelier. And so for many people, this is things like sporting events, definitely road rage, or, anytime one small thing, innocuous thing, seemingly very unrelated, will set someone off. I think we've probably all grown up around someone like that. And it seems to be more accepted when men do it. It tends to be slightly less common in women. And I have found that many times women just, we're just like, oh, it's the road rage, and it's just like, it's never the road rage. Like it never is. And so I invite you to look at like, what are you angry about? Like, what are you furious about? And like, don't make yourself wrong for it. Don't make yourself wrong for it. You're not oversensitive. You're not too emotional. Your anger is valid and righteous.
It definitely comes from somewhere.
Your behavior from that anger is another conversation. But the feeling is not wrong.
I like that. I won't be apologizing for my road rage anymore.
Yeah, I mean, unless don't slash anybody's tires in the name of, well, I'm just feeling my feelings. Like, no, that's not what I mean.
Definitely won't.
So I would love to check in with you and, kind of give the listeners an update. When do you want like a couple weeks to reflect on this and kind of see where you end up? Would that be good? And I'll check in with you.
Yeah, that sounds great. Couple weeks.
Yeah. And then I'll give an update. And so with that, we'll say bye for now. And I will be right back with an update. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed listening in on that coaching session. And I hope that you saw parts of yourself in what Sydney was talking about. I mean, it might not necessarily be the same circumstances, but similar fears, similar feelings, similar thoughts, et cetera, to your life. So here's what she said when I emailed her a few weeks later and asked for any updates that she had. She says, I ended up beating up a cardboard box and yelling, and it felt really great. I will be doing it more often now. Thanks for checking in. So again, I am a big believer in getting your emotions out that way. And remember, it's our life's journey to make ourselves better humans and our life's responsibility to make the world a better place. Bye for now. Hey everyone, thanks again for listening. I would be so incredibly grateful if you haven't done so already, if you could leave a review of this podcast on Apple Podcasts. Super easy if you already listen to your shows over there. But if you don't, or maybe you have the app on your phone, but you listen to the show on a different app, if you could leave a review for this show, it matters so much. I wish I could express how much it matters. I also wish that it didn't matter so much, but alas, it does. So if you haven't already, please go review and rate the show. It would mean so much to me. And thank you so much. I hope you have an amazing day.
Oh, hey, everybody. It's us, Blair and Molly, your old pals from Toddler Purgatory. Two moms who are also actors, who are also creative beings, who sometimes feel stuck. And this is our new podcast, Unsticking It with Blair and Molly. What happens when your creative spark just seems to disappear? Gone. Poof. Bye. See ya. What happens when life gets in the way of your creativity instead of nourishing it? That's what happened to Molly and me. We felt like the thing that drove us creatively stopped working and impending doom had in fact impended. Totally. So we decided to do something about it. And that was steal ideas about getting unstuck from the most creative people we can find. We talk to guests about how to break through the mucky, gluey, sticky wall that can get between you and your creativity. We hear about their journeys, their successes, their challenges, and even their bougie coffee shop orders.
And we're not just talking Bob Ross type paint on paper artists here, though we talk to them too. We're talking to actors, creative directors, dancers, and people who are working hard to be their best creative selves in a world that can sometimes feel real uncreative.
We all have something to teach each other, so let's steal their ideas together.
Join us, won't you, as we deep dive into how to unstick ourselves from the life gunk that can get in the way of our creative freedom. Pandemics, school calendars,
World events, lack of sleep. Oh, get out of their life gunk.
and let's get back to your best creative self. Subscribe to Unsticking It with Blair and Molly.
You're not going to want to miss an episode.
Unsticking It with Blair and Molly, because sometimes life sucks.
Unstick